People that aren't familiar with the concept of estate planning, that's the process where you look at your assets, you see where you are. It involves preparations of powers of attorney, healthcare proxies, wills, trusts, things that people are familiar with at a lay level. But I'm concerned, as having been an estate planner for almost 33 years now, that the press has put forth, rightfully so, the federal exemptions at $5.34 million. And therefore, if you're married, you have 10,680 a value of exemptions, and that the natural conclusion from that is that, gee, I don't need estate planning because I don't have anywhere near those assets.
So why do you need estate planning? Even if even if you're in the
I'm a believer,
middle
but
class.
let's tell our listeners why.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a myth there that unless you're very, very wealthy, or unless you're near death or very old, you don't need to do your estate planning. And I'm here to tell you that nothing could be farther from the truth. And the reason, let's take some concrete examples. Let's say that you're a young couple and you have young children and you're trying to build an estate, but you don't have $10,680,000. You have very, very significant, however, estate planning considerations. First of all, you have young children. You want to make sure that if something happens to you and your spouse, that the children are going to be taken care of. Often that involves establishing a trust to receive funds. Often the funds come not from your own individual earnings, because you may be in your mid-30s and you do not have enough assets already built up. Sometimes the estate is created from insurance. And what people don't know is that sometimes insurance in and of itself can cause estate taxes depending on how it's owned in the survivor's estate.
How would that happen? I mean, I go out and I buy an insurance plan on my life, which now, at my age now, costs me $4 trillion. But so I'm 30 years old, I go buy some insurance. Why isn't it enough to just rely on the insurance agent?
Well, the agent is doing their job by selling you a policy, and really many of the better agents will suggest that once you buy a policy, that you ought to consider, depending on the size of the policy, having the policy owned by what we call an irrevocable life insurance trust to keep it out of your estate for estate tax purposes. So most people will buy, when they're young, a policy. I don't want to use particular companies, but generally a term policy. And today, $1 million is not what it used to be. So when they're young, for very relatively small amounts of premium, they can purchase $1 million, $2 million, $3 million worth of coverage to take your kid through life, private school, public school, clothes, dental, orthodonture, college, etc. The costs are staggering. So you buy a significant policy. What people don't realize is the value of that policy is included in the survivor's estate. And if you live in Massachusetts, you may have already inherited a policy by virtue of your spouse's death which exceeds the $1 million exemption. So that when you die, that will cause inadvertently Massachusetts estate taxes.
If you don't have it in the trust.